Digital cameras have been in production for many years, ever since the introduction in the early 2000s, with many manufacturers adopting this new technology. However, even though Nikon was a pioneer for digital, it wasn't until 2020 when they finally stopped manufacturing film cameras with their flagship F6. But unless you want to pay £1,000 or more for one, instead, you can grab this, the Nikon F100, for a fraction of the price.
On our tiptoes, undercover, agents of the other, beyond gravel, beyond all. A bigger scale, the world inhales as we go. I wouldn't want it any other way. Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Undercover, agents of the other. Beyond gravel, beyond all.
The F100 was manufactured between 1999 and 2006 and was targeted towards their prosumer audience and was meant to be an alternative to their, at the time, Pro F5, with many features being incorporated or improved upon, but with one obvious difference, its size. The F100 originally retailed for $1,400, however in 2018 I was able to pick one up for about £100. Having looked on eBay, prices have gone up since then, but can still easily be picked up for about $200 or so, depending on the quality. The camera on its own, without batteries or a lens, weighs about 785 grams, which is pretty reasonable considering its size, though once you start adding on a hefty pieces of glass or even additional battery grips, I imagine this could even double. Turning on the camera is super easy. All you need to do is turn the switch next to the shutter release and it clicks into place and turns back to the off position. There isn't any kind of lock mechanism, so theoretically I suppose you could accidentally knock it and move it. However, for years that I've used it, I've never done this myself. Once the camera is turned on, the LCD panel on the top will display all of the relevant information, though if it's too dark, you can always nudge the power button to the side to briefly illuminate it. Loading the film is also really easy. If we turn the camera to the side, you can see the mechanism for opening the film door, which has been made to be a bit more safety conscious. The door has a two-stage release where you have to push it in and pull it down at the same time. As you can see, the film canister goes here, and all you need to do is pull the film lead across and close the back. No need to fiddle with the latching of the lead onto anything at all. Once you turn the camera on and press the shutter button, it will advance to the first frame automatically. The camera uses DX coding, which just means it's a fancy way of your camera being able to automatically read the speed of the film that you're using from the barcode on the film canister. However, if you prefer, you can manually set the ISO on the camera if you're someone who enjoys pushing or pulling their film. The shutter speeds on the camera range from 1/8,000th of a second to 30 seconds and even bulb, which is pretty great being able to shoot wide open in bright sunlight. Probably one of the best things about their camera is that it uses the F mount, which hasn't changed since Nikon's early SLR cameras from 1959. And because of that, there are a plethora of lenses to choose from their fully manual focus and AFD lenses, which both have the aperture rings on the barrel, and all the way up to Nikon's latest G range of lenses, where the aperture is controlled from the camera. The camera also has autofocus, with both AFD and G lenses being able to utilise this. The camera has 5 autofocus points, which you can set to either single or multi-point from the back of the camera. The directional pad also allows you to select which autofocus point the camera should use while in single point mode, and can also be locked just by turning the switch to reveal an L. There are 3 types of metering: spot, center weighted, and Nikon's matrix metering, where the camera reads different brightness levels across multiple areas across the frame and will set exposure based on Nikon's algorithms. Generally, I just leave it on the latter, as I've had no issues with exposure on this setting. One thing to keep in mind though is that if you're using a lens without CPU connections, then the camera will default to center weighted. The viewfinder is bright, clear, and has about 96% coverage with all of the relevant information you'd come to expect without it being overly cluttered. By default, the camera won't automatically rewind the film once you get to the end of the roll, so to do this, you need to press and hold both the bracketing and exposure con buttons, and after a second, it should start rewinding. Though if you did want the camera to auto-rewind, prepare to be introduced to the ever-wonderful world of confusing submenus and good luck trying to decipher it without the appropriate manual. However, it might be a good idea to leave it off, as while researching, I did find accounts of the camera automatically rewinding early before the end of the roll. So I've just stopped off a nice quiet little village, as there's not too many people that kind of come this way, and it's actually kind of a nice picturesque little kind of marshy landscape along the little riverbank. And actually maybe a 5-minute walk from here there's actually a light gauge railway, so you never know, we might spot a steam train or two. So what I'm going to do is load up the camera with some Kodak Gold and just see what we can find really.
Some
So what are the downsides of the camera? Well, as mentioned earlier, I guess the first thing would be the custom menus, though as there's no digital display like on modern day cameras, there's no real any other way around it doing this. Though I suppose it's one of those things where you kind of set it and forget it kind of scenarios. Another downside is that the camera doesn't support threaded cable releases, instead it uses a 10-pin connection. Admittedly, I'm sure you can grab one of these electric cables for pretty cheap. It just means that spending money on something specifically for this brand instead of it being universally compatible like a threaded cable. As with any fully electronic camera, complicated internals and all manner of electrical components can fail without warning. I've never heard of anyone's randomly just giving up on them, though I have witnessed the front and rear command dials causing issues, with mine recently having issues with the rear focus select D-pad where the right button doesn't always register. Thankfully, I never use this as I prefer using center focus and just recomposing with my shots. One thing to note about the camera is that it takes 4 AA batteries. I suppose the good thing about this is that they're readily available. It just means it's another cost to be aware of. For someone looking to get into 35mm or even venture into the Nikon ecosystem, I think the F100 is a great way to do that, considering the price that you can easily pick one of these up for, and especially the features that come with it. That being said, I think it's time that I part ways with mine. It's no fault of the camera, I just don't use it enough to warrant keeping a hold of it, and would rather it get some use from someone who can actually benefit from it more than what I can.
Some kind